What's up, everybody? How's it going? In this video, I want to talk about stress and how to better handle it. So over the last 6 or 7 years, I've had my fair share of stress in my life. I've been running my company AlgoExpert for about 5.5 years, and there's a lot of stress that comes with running a company. I've worked as a software engineer at Google and Facebook, and while there I was on call, meaning that I could get paged at any moment in the day, including the middle of the night, whenever there was a production issue and I had to fix those issues. That's a pretty stressful thing. And just generally speaking, I've been a human being. I've had to deal with stress in my normal life, whether stress coming from interpersonal relationships or finances or anything. You get the idea. And throughout these 6 or 7 years, I have felt that I've been pretty good at handling stress. I've been pretty good at dealing with it, managing it, and eliminating it altogether. So in this video, I want to give you some tips of things that I've done that have helped me handle stress better so that hopefully you can too. Now, we're not going to be talking about the biology of stress. We're not going to be giving any medical advice in this video. It's just going to be stuff that I've done that is kind of, pseudoscience, but that has helped me a lot. So the first piece of advice that I would give you is to analyze the next time that you're in a stressful situation or you're dealing with stress, whether the thing that's causing you stress is in your control or not. If it is not in your control, if it is completely out of your control, you have to not let it stress you out. Now, I fully realize that this is easier said than done. It's not something that you can just, flip a switch in your brain and it'll just disappear. Although technically, you kind of have to train yourself to get to that point, because eventually you actually can just flip a switch and be like, oh, this is not in my control, so I'm not going to let it, stress me out. But perhaps one way to do that is to say to yourself, listen, something stressful has happened to me, which has negatively affected my life. And now I am stressing about it. And that is further negatively affecting my life, because stress is like a negative thing, right? It's not fun to get stressed out. But this stressful thing, is completely beyond my control. So why would I further let it have a negative effect on my life if it is entirely beyond my control? Like, there's nothing I can do about it. I shouldn't, right? Like, logically, it is silly to let it affect me. And so I'm not going to let it affect me. Two very simple examples that I can give you here are, if something happened in the past that is causing you stress, it's out of your control. Like, what's done is done. Do not let it stress you out. Oh, you bought the stock market top in November 2021 and now you've lost a ton of money. It's done. What's done is done. You can only move forward. Don't stress about, why did I do that, right? It's done. Oh, you're stuck in traffic and so you're going to be late to your job interview or to your date. There's nothing you can do about it. The traffic is not caused by you. It's caused by other people, by other circumstances. Don't let it stress you out. It is not adding any positive to your life. Okay, that's the first piece of advice. Now, let's get into the second one, where we talk about stressful things that are in your control. And so the second piece of advice that I'm going to give you here is going to be more of a preventative measure rather than dealing with stress, because ultimately the best way to deal with stress is just not to have stress in the first place, right? And so what I've done in my life is I've become extremely intentional and analytical about everything that I do in my life, and I see if the thing that I'm doing has a chance of causing me stress in the future. And if it does, I really ask myself, am I okay with that? Will it bring enough value to my life? Do I want this thing enough to where I won't be mad when it inevitably stresses me out? And so that has allowed me to cut out a lot of things in my life that could cause me stress. And so that's why I live a very minimalist lifestyle. I own very few things. That way I don't have to deal with, the responsibility of owning things, like owning a lot of furniture, owning a lot of clothes, owning a lot of, gadgets or whatever. I only own things that, I really want, where the potential stress that comes from them is outweighed by the benefits that they bring me. I also have very few responsibilities in my life beyond like taking care of myself and my company, AlgoExpert. And that is by design, at least, at this moment in my life, because again, I wanted to minimize the potential stress from my life and only, deal with stress that comes from things that I really wanted. I knew that by launching a company, AlgoExpert, I would have a lot of stress from that. So I didn't want to have a lot of stress coming from other things. So all that to say, be very intentional and think twice, think thrice. It's a really good word, by the way, thrice, before doing something. Make sure that it's not going to cause you stress. And if it does, that you are okay with that. And the related point to this is that anything that you choose voluntarily to do that might cause you stress, you should view that stress as something that you asked for. So you shouldn't let it negatively affect your life. If anything, you should kind of turn it into adrenaline. When I decided to create AlgoExpert, my company, I knew that that was going to be stressful. Like, I have all the responsibilities. If the business fails, it's my fault. If there's a decision to make that isn't really clear, that's going to be on me. I'm going to have to deal with that. But guess what? I wanted that. I wanted the entrepreneurial lifestyle. I wanted the rewards of entrepreneurship. And so when I am faced with these stressful situations in business, I just remind myself that, hey, I wanted this. So to some extent, it's almost like I like this type of stress, right? And on that note, if you're a software engineer preparing for technical interviews, make sure to check out my company, AlgoExpert. Go to algoexpert.io and use the promo code CLEM, CLEM, for a discount on the platform. Okay, so this brings me to my third piece of advice, which is that sometimes you are faced with a stressful situation. It is in your control. It is related to something that you supposedly signed up for, but still, you didn't actually expressly want it. For example, on AlgoExpert, sometimes we have a big bug in production, or sometimes we have a customer who is really unhappy for whatever reason. And obviously, when I started AlgoExpert, I didn't tell myself oh, I can't wait to have to deal with a big bug in production or with a really unhappy, aggressive customer. No, right? Obviously not. But in these cases, the only thing that you can do, that you should do, is to just solve the issue. Because ultimately, the stressful incident has happened. It is not going to go away. The only way that you will eliminate the stress, or at least reduce it, is to solve the issue. That is the only thing standing between you and a stress-free version of you. And so, again, in these cases, just solve the issue. I remember when I was at Google, I was on call, and one day I got paged at 3 a.m., the canonical time that you don't want to get paged at, right? It was 3 a.m., get paged, I have no idea what's going on. This was my first time being on call. I'm, kind of stressed, right? But then I remind myself, what's the point of being stressed? It's not going to go anywhere. I can't just go back to sleep. The only way for me to no longer be stressed is to solve this issue, or at least try to. And so I just got to work, and I just tried to solve the issue. And by the way, on a related note here, when you are in a stressful situation, the worst thing that you can do is to do things that will not help resolve the issue, because that just further increases the stress. And this is where people just let their emotions get the better of themselves, and they start arguing with other people, yelling, crying. That accomplishes nothing. Right? If you're in a stressful situation, let's say, I don't know, with your spouse or your romantic partner, and you start arguing between yourselves instead of just solving the issue, what is that accomplishing other than heightening the stress levels of the situation? Nothing. So don't do that. Just solve the issue. Now, my fourth and final piece of advice is kind of split into two. There are two sort of proverbs or mottos to live by that I think can be extremely helpful when dealing with stress. And so I would encourage you to do that. The first one is taking what's good from what's bad. In any situation in life, including stressful situations that are, bad situations, there is some level of good from them. Perhaps the easiest example is, oh, this could have been worse. For example, you spill your coffee in your car. That happened to me a couple weeks ago. Obviously, stressful, yes, I'm driving, I spill my coffee. Annoying, yes, but it could have been worse, right? I could have gotten in an accident because I spilled my coffee, but I didn't. So just take what's good from what's bad, right? That'll go a long way to just diminishing the stress in the situation. And then the second thing is tomorrow is another day, right? Tomorrow is another day. Let that, resonate with you. When you're dealing with a stressful situation, realize that eventually that stressful situation will be over. It'll be a thing of the past. Usually that's going to be tomorrow, or maybe it'll be in a week, maybe it'll be in a month, maybe it'll be in a year, but eventually you will be at a point in your life where you look back and you say, oh my God, like that is, a funny situation that I was in, but it's over now. And that can really just help you calm yourself. I know it has for me. Like when I was on call, paged at 3 a.m., I was like, okay, well, in probably, at most like 5 hours, this will be over. And I'll never have to think about this again. And it just helps alleviate the stress. That's all I've got for you in this video. I hope that you can apply some of these tips to eliminate or at least reduce the stress in your life and the negative impact that it has on your life. I know that I've done a very good job at doing so in my life, and these days I lead a pretty stress-free life. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter if you enjoy short-form written content, Instagram if you like pictures, and I will see you in the next video.